The first sign that King Alagbuen was failing was not the empty granaries or the silent markets, it was the drums. In a very big village called Ailaroko, for generations, the royal drums of Ailaroko had spoken at dawn, their deep voices calling the village to life. But now, they sounded late, hesitant, sometimes not at all. The elders whispered that the drums had lost respect for the king. Alagbuen had once ruled with fire in his chest and wisdom on his tongue. In his youth, his words settled disputes like rain settles dust. But time had bent his spine and clouded his judgment. Taxes rose without reason. Justice bent toward the rich. Soldiers went unpaid. Farmers hid their harvests. Mothers prayed in silence. Still, no one dared speak openly, until Olitunde, the appointee of the village, stepped forward. Olitunde was not royal blood. He was chosen by the people years earlier to represent their voice before the throne. Tall, sharp-eyed, with scars earned from defending the village borders, he carried the trust of the masses like a hidden blade. One evening, under the ancient Iroko tree, the elders gathered. That night, the air tasted of betrayal. "The king is weak," Elder Q said, his voice trembling. "No," Elder Mojop snapped. "He is still sacred. The gods placed him there." The council split like dry wood. "I have feared the gods. I have feared hunger." And in the shadows, Oletunde listened. Days later, the king announced a new decree, another tax, heavier than before, to build a monument in his honor. The village exploded in murmurs. Children cried from hunger. Men clenched their fists. Women sang songs of sorrow that turned into songs of anger. That night, Ailaroko burned, not with fire, but with division. Supporters of the king armed themselves. Loyal guards patrolled the palace walls. Opponents gathered in secret, sharpening spears, swearing oaths by moonlight. The elders met again. "Remove him," Elder Q said. "Never," Elder Mojop replied. "This will bring blood." Blood came anyway. At dawn, the first scream cut through the fog. The king's guards clashed with villagers at the eastern gate. Spears met swords. Drums thundered, not royal drums, but war drums. Smoke rose. Brothers fought brothers. Elders shouted orders that contradicted each other. No one knew who truly ruled anymore. In the chaos, Oletunde stood before the divided council. "This ends today," he said calmly, though arrows flew outside. "Choose your king or your people." Before an answer could form, the palace gates crashed open. The king's champion charged, blade raised. Oletunde met him in the courtyard. Still sang. Blood splashed the sacred stones. The fight was fierce, brutal, breathless. When it ended, the champion fell. And then the king appeared. Alagbuen looked smaller than the legends. His crown sat heavy on his head, his hands shaking. "You would take my throne?" the king whispered. "I would save the village," Oletunde replied. The battle that followed was not of strength, but of fate. The king struck with rage. Oletunde fought with purpose. One final clash, metal on metal, and the crown rolled across the ground, stopping at the feet of the elders. Silence fell. The king collapsed, defeated, alive but broken. Some elders wept. Others bowed. Ailaroko had no choice anymore. Oletunde was lifted, not by bloodline, but by the will of the people. Yet as the drums began to beat again, louder than ever, a heavy truth settled over the village. A king had fallen. Families were divided. Blood had soaked the land. And power, once tasted, never leaves quietly. Far in the palace shadows, the loyalists watched. And the drums whispered a warning. This was not the end, only the beginning. Please subscribe to Folk Night TV for more interesting stories.